there's certain things going through your head. I can't in a moment of a situation like that. So my mind is saying, "Yo, he's stabbing you," but I don't feel it. But so at some point, I started to black out, and I heard him say, "Yo, all right, let's go, let's go." So as he let me go, I came to, so I got up and I started chasing him. And I'm trying to parry the knife, and I turned my head to see if the other kid was trying to sneak up on me. So when I turned my head, as I turned back around, he stabbed me in the top of my head. And the only reason I felt it because I heard the knife scrape my skull. And then all the police came to the yard, so they grabbed us up. And as I was going back as he's taking me to the hospital, my lung collapsed.
So, Anson, at 19 years old, you end up getting a 27 and a half to life sentence. You end up doing 38, 39 years, and you get out of prison. I can't even imagine what your life would have been like, man, all those years in prison, going in at 19. How do you end up in prison doing 38 years?
Yeah, so I had 3 cases. 1984, well, like I said, I went to DFY in like 78, 79. I was running away from home because I had, I was suffering a lot of abuse at home. So I was a runaway, and they ended up placing me in a DFY facility. So when I came home at 16 in 82, it was a whole new environment moving back into my house when my mom's had passed. I was working, I was going to school, but I started running the halls, and I dropped out of school because it was just different for me. Anyway, in 1984, I had a robbery, third-degree robbery. I got sentenced to 5 years probation. They gave me an RR. I got out the same day I got out on an RR. I had a fight with an off-duty police officer. So I got arrested the same day. The same day I got out RR, I got arrested again, put back in jail. I got charged with second-degree assault because the police lied, said I stabbed him in his face with a sharp, blunt instrument. So a lady I used to work for, after school, I used to clean up her yard and stuff like that. She had a relationship with one of the judges. So she took me in the chain with the judge, and we had a conversation, and we agreed to give me 4.5 years probation, and I did 6 months in the pen. So when I came home from that, it was like maybe 2 weeks after my 19th birthday. My birthday's May 2nd. I turned 19 on June 3rd. I went out to Mamaroneck to stay at a motel with my then girlfriend. The next morning, my girlfriend left. I met a girl the next morning, and we hooked up in the motel. And to make a long story short, she was late for school, and she started to get panicking. I panicked, and I took her life. I was afraid what was going to happen if she went to school and told, because she was a white girl and I was black, and I thought that if she went to school and told them that she was with me, that she was going to lie, or whatever, say something crazy, and I wasn't going to make it out of my marriage. And so that's I killed a girl, 17-year-old girl. So that's what I got all that time for. I got 27th of life because I got violated for all the 3 cases, and the recommendation I didn't release parole for no parole for that particular incident. That was my situation. So that's what I went to prison for.
Was that in New York, right?
That was in Mamaroneck, Westchester County.
You take her life. I mean, I know it's it's been a lot of time, and I'm sure you dealt with this, but you take her life. I mean, do you shoot her? Do you choke her? What happens?
I strangled her.
So after that happens, how do you feel inside, man? I mean, are you devastated? Like, man, look what I just did. I mean, what's going through your 19-year-old mind at the time?
Yeah, I was just freaking out. I panicked. Um, I mean, so I'm not gonna blame it. You know, I was under the influence of drugs that morning, and I'm not gonna, you know, like I'm not gonna use that as an excuse for what I did because I mean, I made a decision. You know what I'm saying? But at the I get extremely paranoid. That's why I don't smoke no more because I get a extreme paranoia. So I was really freaking out, extreme paranoia. That's what really led to it because I really overthought the situation. You know what I mean? I panicked. I overthought the situation. You know, basically I thought the extreme. I mean, I imagined all this crazy stuff was going to happen. That you know, when you really look back on it, that probably wasn't even going to happen. You understand what I'm saying? Anyway, so after I did that, I'm in a motel freaking out now because I'm like, I can't believe, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I didn't know what to do, man. I had to get out of there. So, you know, I, 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 I basically ran. I got closed the door and I basically ran all the way back to the train station, to try to jump on the train. I couldn't do that. So I ended up basically running all the way back to New Rochelle, you know what I mean, from Amerenik. That's basically what I did, you know, in a state of panic, sweating and everything. Um, I just, yeah, I didn't, it just blew my mind, put it that way, man. You know, because I was like, I couldn't believe I had even did that. Like, it just, you know, I can't even.
Ask you this, right? This happens. You leave her in the hotel room. You don't try to get rid of the body, nothing like that. You just leave her and take off.
Right. Well, I thought about what I was gonna, you know, getting rid of it, but you know, but um, it was just, I was just freaking out. I didn't want to, like, I didn't want to, didn't put my, I didn't want to touch the body. It was just, you know, it was just like crazy traumatizing for me, you know. So I threw some bags over it and ran, and, you know, and ran out the room. Um, that's basically what happened. I went all the way back to the show. I actually went to a friend of mine's house and told him what happened. I told him what happened, and told him, if anything, can he just say I was at his house the whole time? And that's really what led to,
That probably didn't work out, right?
you know, because he told somebody and they told him. Next thing you know, that's how ended up getting arrested.
Or were you on the run before they realize it's you and they come get you?
Um, about not even maybe a day. Um, I wasn't even really I was just at home. Uh, I was at home, more or less. I was at my house.
So they arrest you. You're 19 years old. They charge you with murder, right?
Yeah,
What's going through your mind now when they arrest you? Are you like, man, my life's over with?
yeah. Well, well, when they arrested me, they actually used a ploy. They lied to get me out the house. Had my girlfriend call me and tell me to come pick her from school because she was sick. And then when and they basically lied to me to get me out of precinct. And then when they got me out of precinct, you know, they threatened to kill me. They said they was gonna shoot me, take me out back, and shoot me if I didn't confess to the crime. So I gave them confession. They kind of added little stuff to confession. In any event, that's what happened. You know, I ended up confessing to the crime. And um, when I took me into the county jail, I was basically numb. I was in a state of shock. Like I couldn't believe, like, I was freaking out. Like, put it that way, I couldn't believe this had happened. You know what I mean? Like, my whole life was done. I actually tried to commit suicide, man. You know, um, I actually tried to hang myself.
I can only imagine what you were going through, right? And I mean, obviously, you know, there's a victim here. The girl, were you remorseful? Or did you, I mean, what did you go through mentally about, you know, her? How do you feel about her losing her life?
Man, I'm just, to this day, I'm just like it really, really, like, um, yeah, it's just really sad. Yeah.
I understand that, and you know, look, I mean, it's something I'm sure you know, you lived with every day of your life. You're going to court, you go to trial, right?
Yeah, I went to trial.
Why do you go to trial? Why don't you cop out? What's the cop out?
I didn't, they didn't, yeah, I was in, yeah. When you look back, it's like really stupid. I was in a state of denial, bro. Like, I didn't want to, you know what I mean? I didn't want to accept that I did that. So I basically said I didn't do it. Put it that way. You know what I mean? Because I didn't know how to tell my father, it was just I didn't know how to admit to that. Put it that way. Like so I went to trial. If I would have probably got less time to go to trial. I probably got like 10 to life. I mean, I still probably would have done a lot of time. But
Let me take you back to a part of the case, right? You're going to trial. Is her family present?
yeah,
Family's there every day. Eventually, you get convicted.
yeah,
Sometimes we see wild things where people attack people at sentencing. When you go for sentencing, is her family there and do they speak?
yeah. They were there. They spoke.
They say to you,
I mean, they just expressed, just how terrible it was. You know what I mean? Like what happened, and uh,
threaten you at all or call you a piece of shit? I mean, you see this stuff happen at sentencings. That's why I'm asking. Matter of fact, just 2 days ago, a family, tried to attack someone in the courtroom. That's why I'm asking you that.
yeah, they were more or less um in the back of the courtroom because she had brothers and everything. She had a pretty big family. Um, yeah, they were threatening me, but I was 19, man, and yeah, I was stupid. I was engaging in like and threatening them back. You know what I mean? Like telling them, come get me, and all kind of crazy stuff. Like I was just acting like an idiot. Um, it was just, and it actually was just a form of bravado. You know what I mean? Trying to cover up how the really pain and guilt what I did. You know what I mean? So I was just acting out. You know what I mean?
Now you're on your way to state prison, right? To give you 27 and a half to life. You were 19
27
years,
third. Yeah.
27 to life. I
Yeah.
mean, life on the back. Do you think you're never ever getting out?
Yeah, because I had a recommendation. I never be released on parole. So I didn't think I was ever coming home. Um, yeah, I thought I was going to be do the rest of my life in prison. I was actually, um, I had actually consigned myself to that. That's how I was going to be do the rest of my life in prison. Like I was really, um, locked into the prison life. Like this is what I'm, you know what I mean? This is what I'm going to be doing.
So you're locked
Um,
into the prison life. You go to prison. What's it like for you? What's your first New York State prison? Auburn, Green Haven. Where do you go?
my first prison was obviously I went to Elmira Reception, and then yeah. So the first prison I went to was Elmira for reception. Because I was an adolescent, so you go to Elmira for reception. The Elmira experience was because it's reception, so you still kind of like you kind of leery because it's prison. You never been to prison before. Me, perceptively, it's different. It's a little fear, but it wasn't that. I mean, it wasn't that bad for me. I only stayed there for 30 days, and it's basically it's reception, so you're going through all that, so you don't really get a chance to really experience all the other stuff that goes on in prison because it's reception. Then I went to Cashapp. I went to
Yeah.
Cashapp from Elmira.
So
Um,
let me just give some of the viewers a little perspective, right? I've been to Elmira a few times, right?
yeah,
You're young, you go to Elmira, man, you go to the car wash, right? Everybody's in there butt ass naked, taking
yeah,
showers. You're like, yo, for a young dude, I mean, I went there when I was 17 and I was
yeah,
just like, damn, bro, I'm a white dude. I'm like, yo, this shit right here.
it's
I
real.
got my boxers on in the shower. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
I mean, you can get got in Elmira too, right?
Huh?
It could happen in Elmira too. Someone could get you there too, right?
No, yeah, it can happen in Elmira, but I don't know. Me, I was kind of locked in. Like I'm doing life. You know what I mean? I'm never going home. And one thing that I had decided when I came to prison that I wasn't going to PC. Like you know what I mean? I'm not doing my life in PC. You know what I mean? Whatever gonna happen, it's gonna happen. I'm staying in population. I'm just gonna have to deal with it. You know what I mean? Like, um, and I'm not saying I was just tough. I was no tough guy. 'Cause I was scared. I was definitely scared. But I just have locked in my mind that no matter what, I'm not going to PC. You know what I mean? Either I'm going to survive and do this time or I'm not going to survive. And that's just where, that's just where I was locked in my mind. And, that's just how I felt. And yeah, I was scared. That's a fact.
You were gonna Did you think you were gonna have any trouble because of the crime?
That's exactly what yeah. You know what I mean? That's what I was consigned to, that I was going to have some problems specifically because of that, you know? Um, and actually, I'm not gonna lie, bro. Like I didn't really go through a lot as a result of my case in prison, And I've been everywhere. I've been in Attica, Comstock, Greenhaven, Sing Sing. I've been in population the whole time. I got IPC one time. That's years later because I got stabbed in Sing Sing. I mean Greenhaven, but this is years later. But I've been all over.
We'll talk about that in a minute, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you go to Cassacky. What's Cassacky like? Definitely a wild place, man, for young
Yeah.
dudes.
Cassacky was wild, bro. For real, like it all because it's all adolescents. Everybody's under 21. It was probably like 3 adults there, so every day people getting cut. The phones is crazy. You know what I mean? Like it's hectic. You get on the phone, people's robbing dudes, and it's and it's everybody's. So at that time, like because you from Rochester, so you know how it is well, especially when I came to jail. When I came to prison up north in '86. So it was all about the 5 boroughs. So anybody outside the 5 boroughs, you consider upstate. You didn't have to be from Rochester to be considered upstate or Buffalo. Anything outside the 5 boroughs, you was upstate. So I was considered from upstate. I was from Westchester County. That's just outside the Bronx, but still upstate. And we was like the minority. At that time, the minority. Years later, you started people everywhere, even from up Rochester, Buffalo was deep in the prison compared to when I first came to prison. You know what I mean? And same thing with people from Westchester County was a little more prevalent. But when I first came to prison, I was a minority. You know what I mean? And so you had to deal with that, especially with in Cassack, it was a lot of Brooklyn. And the Brooklyn attitude is like, yo, Brooklyn is like number one, and everybody else is. If you ain't from the city, you soft. You know what I mean? Well, let's keep it honest. And so I had to deal with that. I had to, prove yourself. Like, you know what I mean? And I had a complex because I was from Westchester, and like I had a couple dudes that came up north for me that was from Westchester that wasn't even claiming it. They claim, oh, I was just out there. I live in the Bronx, or I live in Manhattan, stuff like that. And I'm like one of the few people actually claiming, yeah, that's where I'm from, Westchester. You know what I mean? So I had a real complex that I had, I had to prove myself. You know what I mean?
So, did you ever have to get busy in there?
Yeah, I had a couple fights in Kawasaki. You know what I mean? And
fights or cutting or what?
I had fights. I never got cut. Well, I told you I got stabbed. This is years later, but in my early part of my bed, I never got cut. Never. But I could fight though. You know what I mean? I boxed. So, I had a little hand skill. So, and then I was real big on, like I said, I was really paranoid. I suffer from paranoia, and when I use drugs, it gets even worse. But I have paranoia anyway. So, even though I could fight, I got good hand skills, I had to have a knife. You know what I mean? Everywhere I went, I've never felt comfortable in a prison until I had a knife. You know what I mean? So that's the first thing I made in Kawasaki. I made a knife, and so I got caught with it. But I got caught. Well, that's my history. Weapon making.
Let me ask you this: did you keep a knife on you or a razor?
No, I keep a knife on me. I won't use a razor. At that time I had to have at least 9 inches. 9 inches or more. So I made knives. Actually, in every time I've got caught with them, and actually I've had the disciplinary dude ask me like what I was doing in New York because he couldn't understand how I could make knives. I was gifted making knives like that. I can make a knife out of anything. So that's basically how I roll. But I had fights though in Kawasaki. I
Let me
didn't. I
ask you
didn't.
this, right? You said you immersed yourself into the prison life, like this is your life, this and that. You ever become a gang member in there? Because I know the Bloods were prevalent in there.
Nah, no. But when I first came off, it wasn't no blood wasn't prevalent yet. It was years later. What? All right. So, I was Muslim for about like 2 years, yeah, maybe 2 years, and I left. I was like, this ain't for me. That's the only time I ever joined anything. I was Muslim for 2 years, and then I left. I was like, nah, I didn't like it. And then plus, I felt like I said, I got a complex. I get a little paranoid. I get a little complex, and I felt like I didn't want people to think, yo, that I needed this for protection. You know what I mean? Because especially like, and I noticed that too. That's a fact that a lot of you have dudes that be Muslim because they have like crazy cases, and they, you know what I mean. So they hide under the umbrella to be for protection. So I left because I didn't want that. I didn't want people feeling like, yeah, I needed the Muslims to, to protect me. So I left in like 80. I left the Muslim in the 80, late 87, 88. So that's the only time I ever was doing anything. After that,
Did other people in the prison know what you were in prison for? That it was a chick that got killed and all that stuff?
actually look that actually there's a few people. Well, like I told you, I was in denial. So I was telling people I didn't do it. But I mean, not like people that I kind of knew that was getting close, that was kind of close to me. I told them I didn't do it. That was in the beginning. And later on in my bed, I came to grips with it. I just, I started coming clean on it. But a kid on my company had an article. They had this magazine out called like the 10 worst crimes in America. And I was in there. You know what I mean? And somebody came and showed it to me, like, "Yo, this was going around," and and so it kind of it was out there. And when I first saw that, I got really paranoid, like what I mean, and I really started running around with a knife. I made a couple knives. I was running around with a knife every day, always looking over my shoulder. You know what I mean? Uh, like on alert. You know what I mean? Like I'm ready to pop any minute, any second. Um, I had a couple fights in Comstock. Uh, I actually was going down the whole little knife to knife with this kid, and he kind of backed out. You know what I mean? Actually, he tried to bluff me, and I got down there. He wasn't even he didn't even have a knife on him. You know what I mean? So
We talk about knife to knife. You guys are going to have a knife fight. That's it. Let the best man win.
yeah, yeah.
Where were you guys going to do it? In honor block or out in the back half, back in the hole? Where?
Right. So when I first came to Comstock, it was mandatory yard in the morning, and like when you come out for program. If you didn't have program, you had to go to the yard. It wasn't going back to, so you had to go to the yard and stay out to the yard until they call to go back. So after they finish running all the program, so you'd be out in the yard like really early in the morning, before 7 o'clock. You know what I mean? It'd be cold. So, and that early in the morning, you can go down to the hole. That's the hole, because back in the day, that's where they used to go down there, and they go behind that wooden handball court right there. Used to be a little gully back there. People go
I've
back
been
there.
there. I mean, I did some years in Comstock.
Yes, I'm saying, you know what I'm talking about. Well, they kind of like put a fence. They kind of like closed that off. But I used to be to go right back there and go right back there and get it on. I'll go right down in the hole.
That was the danger zone back there.
Right. So that's what you do. Yo, meet me in the hole, and that's where you go to get it in. And then when I first came to Comstock, they didn't have all that no talking in the halls and everything. You know what I'm saying? And everybody, and it wasn't split up like that. The way it became, where they started splitting up and the certain blocks come on. Everybody was in the yard. The whole jail be in the yard. You know what I mean? So you could be in the yard getting in and going gun to gun in the middle of the yard, and you be going gun to gun for a minute before because there's so many people in the yard before the tower recognize, oh, we got an incident, or you could be over on the wall over here getting it in before the tower recognize they got an incident. You know what I mean? So you used to see a lot. I seen people get stabbed in the eye, they throat cut. You see people coming across the yard, everything leaking. It was crazy. Comstock was crazy. They used to, they was calling that gladiator school. You was there. And the police there, the police in Comstock is crazy too. Like, I don't think, only thing I think worse than them is Attica. Be honest with you.
Herbert and German, did they work there back then when you were there?
Yeah, yeah, they was there. They notorious, man. I mean, they was at that time. They was handcuffing people, throwing them down the stairs, all kind of stuff. Throwing handcuff behind your back, throw you down the stairs face first. It was crazy, man. Like I was on B8 for a little while. So B8, is that you through B8 go right to the box. Through B8, they take you through there to the B block, to the box, and you got B1, 2, 3, 4. You got B1 SHU, and then you got the F unit. So people used to come through there. Man, you see every day. You see people coming through, all bandaged up. People, the police done broke them up, dragging them back, dragging them through to the box. They bleeding, all kind of. It was crazy, man. It was crazy.
What's it like for you to see that shit, man? Someone get their face ripped open with a razor, or dude stabbed and leaking.
It's traumatizing, man. It's traumatizing. I say to this day, man, like that coming out, like when you come out of prison, when you get ready to come out of prison, you need to have some kind of like they do in the army. I can't think of what they call it, where they kind of like they bring you back, they bring you down. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's a name they got. I can't even think of it right now. Huh?
Talking about like desensitizing?
Right, yeah, desensitized. Yeah, when you do time, people do a lot of time in prison. About any time you do in prison, you need that because you see, it's so much stuff you see, man. You gotta actually um uh turn yourself cold, man. You know what I mean? Because you be so emotionally caught up in what's going on and be so traumatized that you actually got to turn yourself cold to not feel that. You know what I mean? To hear people screaming when police beating them up. I mean, like when I was in Attica, I saw this about every other day. I see people, you see people, police beating people up, man. Hear people screaming. When I was in a box, I did a lot of box sound. When I was in a box, I used to hear that on the regular, man. That's traumatizing, man. That'll really mess you up. Coming home after being in prison all that time, coming home with all that on your shoulder, man. All the stuff you witnessed, stuff that people don't believe, never seen go on, don't think go on. 10, 20 police officers jumping on one dude with his handcuffed, cracking his head open, kicking his teeth out, stomping his nut, all kind. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy, man. Like, it's just. I mean, I thank God, man, from that. That I made it through, man. It wasn't me, man. God looked out for me. I tell you to this day.
How with the crime that you got, you're convicted, young man, on his way to prison probably for the rest of your life, pretty much. How do you get through each day? How do you make it through each day? What pushes you forward not to give up?
Bro, I just, I've been through a lot in my life, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like I told you, I was in the process of doing my memoir. I got sidetracked. I have to get back to it because I really want to tell my life story, my experience, what I've been through in life, and how I got to where I am today, and kind of not justify my crime, but kind of like give some insight into how how I ended up down that path. You know what I mean? And like one of the things I really think there's a lack of help for individuals, especially at a young age, that really need it is not there for them. Like when I was in DFY, man, I could have got help in DFY from my situation, just from what I've been through at that stage of life. From the physical abuse I suffered. 'Cause I was severely abused at home. Not sexually abused, but physically abused. And I went to DFY. I could have got the help and never got it. Never. It was never addressed. We never really dealt with that. And I think that the lack of that played a role in some of the decisions I made later on in life, and the anger and the frustration that had built up over a period of time, and that finally exploded that morning. You know what I mean? And took a life of an innocent young girl and traumatized a family for life. You know what I'm saying? And I really want to speak to that, and that's why I want to on my memoir. I want to speak to that because there's a serious mental health issue in America. And when we say mental health, I'm not talking about people think we talking about mental health. We talking about people's crazy, bugged out. I'm talking about mentally ill from emotional stuff, physical abuse, sexual abuse. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people suffering from that. and you see all these things that people do, especially a lot of young people do, and we don't understand it. We want to lock away, throw away the key, which I understand, from that perspective. But there's a lot more to it. You know what I mean? That we're missing. And I think it needs to be addressed. And I want to kind of use my, my life as a platform to kind of like speak to that. More or less.
I mean, obviously, you guys had some stuff going on. I mean, me and you met because I did your brother's case. He ends up he also got a life sentence in the feds, and I end up winning that case. They find 2 bodies in the trunk of a car. Both dead. I mean, obviously, you guys were exposed to some violence and committed violence in your lives, right?
Right. Yeah. All my brothers have been in prison. My sister, the only one, hasn't been in prison. Yeah. So yeah, my youngest brother did fed time. Yeah, all my brothers. You know what I mean?
So, let's talk a little bit more about New York State prison. We don't do a lot of New York State interviews, although I should. You talked about like this article that comes out about you and all of that stuff. And then you had spoke about getting stabbed in Greenhaven. Why did you get stabbed in Greenhaven? Was it because of that article?
No, I got stabbed in Greenhaven because of a situation between me and it was kind of racially motivated, to be honest with you. I was it was this kid that I was cool with, white kid. We was mad cool. And I was in RSAT, and I had a lead role in RSAT, me and him both. So make a long story short, the police was abusing people over there. So a bunch of guys came to me because they know I'm good at articulating myself in writing, et cetera, and filing complaints. So they came to me for assistance. So I assisted them indirectly. When everything hit the fan, they basically threw me under the bus. So I went to the box for that. So the kid that I used to be dealing with, that I was real cool with, he used to be with me every day, run around me every day, white guy. When I went to the box, he was still out there. So he used to be on the court with me. So I was in Greenhaven, because in Greenhaven, when you go to yard, there's courts. If you're not on the court, you really don't have. You just be standing around. You have to be on the court, even to exercise and work out, et cetera, et cetera. You have to be on the court. There's no free bar to get on. You know what I'm saying? So he was on the court with me, and I was actually on a blood court. To be honest with you, I was on the blood court. I'm not even blood, but I was on the blood court because I knew some people that was on that court. So I got him on the court with me. He was the only white guy on that court too. So when I left and went to the box, they kicked him off the court. So he got on the court, because he's Italian. He got on the Italian court. So when I went to the box, that's who basically, to be honest with you, that told on me was a bunch of white guys in the block. They basically threw me on the bus, and I helped them out. So when I came back down from the box a year later, he was still in population. We hanging out. He's on the Italian court. So there's 2 on the east side, on the west side. We on the west side. There's 2 courts on the west side. That's basically white courts. The Italian court, and there's another court that's outlaws. There's no blacks on that court. And if you're on that court, you ain't supposed. They don't want you like bringing no blacks over there, etc. So when I came out, and he saw me, came hang out with me, and I saw what court he's on. I said, "Yo, you know that you on that court? You ain't supposed to be, etc. With no blacks, etc." He was like, "Yo, but they know we cool, etc. And this and that, boom, wow." So what happened as time went on? You could see there was tension. I could see the tension. You know what I mean? I'm telling him, et cetera, et cetera. And one thing led to another. One of the guys on the court, he owed me some money because I sold him some drugs. Because I was selling drugs for this Dominican kid. I sold some dope for him, and the kid owed me some drugs. He wanted to make a deal with me, and I didn't want to do the deal. So make a long story short, they flipped the script around, threw some bull crap in the air, and told the kid that either he had to get rid of me or he had to go. You know what I mean? So basically they jumped me in the yard and stabbed me 6 times in my back and 1 time on the top of my head. When we had a fight. That's basically what happened.
Let me ask you this. How many people are stabbing you? Just him or some other people too?
I got jumped by 2 of them, but he's the one that stabbed me. But what happened? I didn't know he had the knife. So when they came, he came up to say, "Let me talk to you." So he walking around the yard talking, and he's not making any sense. And so the other kid spun off like he was gonna go somewhere, and he ran it behind me to try to snuff me. So when I spun off and backed up, so I went at him first, the kid that snuffed me. So when I went at him, I dropped him. So when I dropped him, as he was trying to get up, the other kid went from behind me. He had the knife. The kid that I did that was supposed to be my man, he came from behind me. I didn't know he had the knife. If I had knew he had the knife, I'd have went at him first and disarmed him. But I didn't know. So he came from behind me and tripped me. So when I fell, when I tried to get up, the other kid grabbed me. So he was holding me. And when I was trying to get loose from him, the other kid was stabbing me in my back. But I didn't know I was getting stabbed because I didn't feel it. Because your adrenaline, I didn't feel it. You know what I mean? But my mind was like, yo, he's got it. The way he's in the moment, there's certain things going through your head. I can't in the moment of a situation like that. So my mind is saying, yo, he's stabbing you, but I don't feel it. But so at some point, I started to black out, and I heard him say, "Yo, all right, let's go, let's go." So as he let me go, I came to. So I got up, I started chasing him. I couldn't catch the kid that was holding me. So I seen the other kid with the knife. So I spun off and I caught him over there, and going at it. I didn't have a knife, and I'm trying to parry the knife, and I turned my head to see if the other kid was trying to sneak up on me. So when I turned my head, as I turned back around, he stabbed me in the top of my head. And the only reason I felt it because I heard the knife scrape my skull. And then all the police came to the yard, so they grabbed us up. And as I was going back as he's taking me to the hospital, my lung collapsed. And so I was in ICU. I had to go to an emergency room. I was in ICU for like 13 days. Almost died. And then I also ended up catching MRSA, and I almost died from that. So I came back from that.
So
That's why.
this is supposed to be your man. You get out of the hole. You're talking to him, and he ends up stabbing you.
Right. Yeah, they had already planned that. I didn't know that. So they already planned that. So in the interim, all that other stuff came out too. You know what I mean? So I guess they probably used all that as a reason to get him to stab me when it was really about the drugs. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, let me
And
ask you this though, right? None of the black dudes help you. The two white dudes are stabbing you, jumping on you. No one helps you.
no, because all right, so it happened. So on the west, if I had been on the east side, that wouldn't happen. I was on the west side. The west side is a little more laid back, and after the early go back is basically the yard is really empty. So they timed it right. It was really nobody in the yard. You know what I mean? And they got except for like they got the A block. They got a couple um um mental issues that be in the yard, but it was hardly anybody in the yard. You know what I mean? And nobody
Right.
in the dude that's in the yard. They're not really trying to. You know what I mean?
Pretty
Everybody.
much. I mean, it's not something that we really mentioned, right? But we should talk about it because you said that they kind of used the crime and all of that. So really, it wasn't. I mean, in court, they didn't allege just that it was a murder. They alleged that it was something else that went with the murder, also, right?
Yeah, I got charged with first degree sexual abuse.
Not the. We can't use the word the right word on YouTube, but they didn't charge you with that, right?
Nah, no, they charged me first degree sexual abuse.
So that was, that was kind of like, oh no, man. Did you feel like dude was like, nah, fuck that dude, man.
Right,
He's an S offender, right?
right.
I mean, with that stigma on your back, I mean, were you always fighting that your whole time you were in prison?
Be honest with you, not really, bro. You know what I mean? I didn't even like I was in Attica for 7 years, and I didn't go through none of that in Attica. And I saw, and I'm telling you, in Attica, the police, I seen what the police do to like child molesters, rapists and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Or people that do sex crimes. The police, you know what I mean? They do them dirty, and they have the porters running on all kind of stuff. I never went through that. You know what I mean? Like I never had that issue.
Had the
And
cops Never had the cops pull you up and be like, yo, man, I know what you're here for?
no, I never had a problem for none of that. Nowhere. No, the whole time I was incarcerated, I never had that issue with the police, with nobody.
When the gang started coming into New York State prison, right? Who was the most dominant gang?
Okay, all right. When I first came upstate, remember I told you the Bloods wasn't established yet, so it was and the Latin Kings and Nietas was just forming. It was mostly like outlaws, and you had uh, what's his name that went home after all them years that was in freaking Clinton. T 45. T 45 and them, they was deep. They crew was deep. Um you had the 5%ers, and then had the Muslims, but the Muslims was really considered, they really wasn't a gang, supposed to be a religious organization, but they kind of fell into that stigma a little bit. And then you had the macheteros, you know, those type of gangs. Then you had the Nietas and the Kings started growing, and then the Bloods started blossoming. In the beginning, the Bloods was, they was a minority, and so they was suffering. They was going through it for a minute until they got really really deep, and then it just all hell broke loose. And that's what turned to a lot of these prisons where they started shutting the yards down in half and all that, because it started being like when something pop off, you got like 150 dudes out there fighting. You know what I mean? Because like the Nietas was really deep. They joined with the Kings and the Bloods. They got crazy deep. It was hectic. You see how Comstock was when you got there. It was crazy.
Comstock, when Baldy was there and the Bloods were getting it out with the Hispanic gangs, the Latin Kings, the Nietas, and really, man, at that time, the Bloods were the ones that were really winning at that time, right?
Yeah, that's a fact.
You've been on the yard with people like Yellow Boy, right? YB?
Yeah.
I mean, did he have a lot of power when you were in the prison with him?
Yeah. I was all right. So I was in. I don't. All right. So let me just clear this up. I'm not. I don't know Yellow Boy personally. Like I wasn't like me and him was like never hung out. Was really cool. I met him through boxing shot, Corey Sparrow. That's how I met Yellow Boy through him. That's what I mean. But so I knew of him. I've been around him, but I didn't really hang out with him. Like he wasn't like that was my man. Not that I have anything against him, just that we run in two different circles. But I knew of him through Shaw. That's how I knew Yellow Boy. And yeah, Yellow Boy, he had power.
Let me ask you, I mean, he called the shot. It happened, right?
Yeah, it's a fact. Yeah.
Oh, White Boy Red from Rochester. You ever run into Red? Red had 25 to life. Red did 25.
Yeah, I know White Boy Red. Yeah.
Oh, now he's doing great things. When I was 11 years old, man, he was arrested at my house for that murder. He was at my house when he
Oh,
got
really?
Yeah, he's like a family member to me, bro.
Yeah, he's been. Yeah, I was all over with him. He's in a few spots with me. White Boy Red. He get busy.
I would love to bring Red on here, man, at some point.
Oh wow, yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, he definitely got. I'm pretty sure he got some stories to tell. He been.
You go to the parole board, right? You go to numerous boards, 27 to life. You go to your first board, are you like, damn, I might get lucky and get out?
No, I went to my first board in Attica, and when I went to my first board in Attica, 2000 something. I went to my first board. I guess 2000, maybe 7 or 8, somewhere around there. I can't remember exactly where I went to my first board, but I knew I wasn't going home. To be honest with you, I went to my first board. I knew I wasn't going home. I didn't even. Yeah, it was just going through the motions. You know what I mean? I knew I was getting hit. You know what I mean? Because I mean, and people saying like, yeah, your first board usually on a sentence like that, and because I had a recommendation, I never released on parole. They say it's like, well, do you see usually probably by your third board you'll get out. You know what I mean? If they're gonna let you out, you probably make it by your third board. Use your first couple boards, and they're gonna hit you. And I got hit my first board. I went to an Attica. I just it was I just went through the motions of that board. I knew I was gonna get hit.
Walk into the board though. Are you prepared? You go in there and admit your guilt. Like, look, I'm sorry for what I did. I was young. I made some mistakes. There's no excuses. Although, you mentioned how young you are. After 2 or 3 boards, are you starting to think, man, I might make it out?
No. uh, well, at one time I thought I said maybe I might have an opportunity here. You know what I mean? And then um, when they hit me that board, I was like, you know what? These people not letting me go. You know what I mean? Honestly, when I went to my seventh board, the one I got released on, my mind, I had already had it. I already made my mind up that if I didn't get released at this board, I'm never going to the board again. This is my last board. I was like, it's the last time I'm going to the board. I'm done. You know what I mean? It is what it is. They're not letting me go. I got this judge keep recommending, the judge that recommended I release parole. He keep writing letters saying never let me out. They're not gonna let me out. I'm just, it is what it is. I'm here for. I'm just gonna start wilding out. I really, my mind was already set that if I didn't make that board, I was in Woodburn. I'm getting out of Woodburn. I'm tired of being here. I'm out of here. I'm just gonna get crazy and going back up north, and that's it. I'm just gonna immerse myself in the prison life, whatever.
Let me ask you this, right? So you're going in front of these boards. A lot of people don't really know what happens inside a pro board. I've been before a pro board in my life at Comstock. When you're in this pro board, what type of questions are they asking? Are they being aggressive towards you? Are they treating you like you're a piece of shit? What goes on in the pro board? These people that are watching don't know.
Well, not for me. They weren't. They honestly they weren't being nasty with me. None of my bro was. I'm be honest with you. Uh, they were just asking me basic questions, about the crime, and uh, that's more or less, then about what I plan to do, et cetera, et cetera. Uh, that's it. It wasn't. I don't know. For me, this it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't that kind of experience. I know people do go through that like that, but I didn't really. Yeah, I really never experienced where and I had where it was really being really nasty with me. Um, I knew that like at certain boards, I knew like, okay, this guy did not let me out because I had Capola. When I went to board for Capola, I could tell by his demeanor that he wasn't letting me out. Uh, I had the other guy that's notorious. I knew he wasn't letting me out. Just one because like he just didn't want to say nothing to me. Like when he's like, you have a question, he just you could tell by his disposition he didn't want to have nothing to do with me. You know what I mean? He was just disgusted with me. I went to this guy too, the Cuban guy. That everybody's notorious. I went to him twice. Actually, he's the one. When I went to see him the second time, that's how he's the one that got released me. I forget their names now. The Cuban guy.
Yes,
He's
let me ask
notorious.
you this. Their names don't matter, but let me ask you
Yeah.
this. On your sixth board, they hit you with 2 years on your sixth board?
18 months. So for my first three boards was 2 years. Then the next boards was 18 months. 18 months.
Hit with that 18 months, are you thinking, damn, man, they only hit me with 18 months. I might got a shot?
The first time they hit me 18 months, I said, okay, 18 months. I probably got a shot now. They don't hit me 18 months. On my next board, I'm probably out of here. You know what I mean? And then I went to the next board. I'm thinking I think I did everything I was supposed to do, prepared, had everything ready. And it'd be 18 months again, you know? And I'll be honest, the reason why I was like, yo, it don't make any sense because I got everything set up for me and then when then you hit me like what the freak like it's not gonna last 18 months now. It might not be the same situation. It's like you trying to make it to the point where um wait till I run out of everything, where I don't have no support. There's no job for me, there's nothing left for me, and now what, you gonna let me go like where I don't got nothing? Like, how long you expect people to stay around and be supportive of you? You know what I mean? Like seven boards, bro. Like over
Talk about
12
hold
years.
on, let's talk about the seventh board. You go to the seventh board, you walk out. Do you feel like they're letting you go?
I was kind of like, I was kind of like maybe that they might. I was, I wasn't sure. I'll be honest with you, like, what really, I kind of felt like maybe this might be my opportunity because I met this young lady at the year that I was going to my seventh board. I met this young lady at the beginning of the year. named Tyler Morse. Not a relationship, like not an intimate relationship, just a good friend. And she really worked with me on preparing for the parole, and that came out of out of nowhere. So I just and then other things like that just was just falling in place that made me feel like I might, what I mean. I didn't want to throw. I don't want to be too hopeful because in prison you don't want to be too hopeful because the letdown is just too much. So I didn't want to be too hopeful, but there was a little bit of feeling like what, this might be it. You know what I mean? I just felt like I got that because I have a really strong belief in God, and it's just increased even more since I've been home. But I just felt like there's certain things that was happening. I just like that God was just putting in place for me. That this was the time for me. You know what I'm saying? Like this girl that came to help me out, she came out of nowhere. Like at the beginning of the year, like I just ended up meeting her, and she worked with me preparing for the parole board. She gave me a number where we can call and go back and forth on dialoguing on what I was going to tell them, expressing my remorse and just going through my crime, and preparing for my release. And then a buddy of mine that was in prison with me, he actually sat down with me on a regular basis and just went through it with, what I mean? Went through it with me, what I mean? Let me cry, everything, you know what I'm saying? Honestly, he's home now. So it was just so many things that happened that worked in my part. My brother had a place for me down in Virginia, everything. So
Ask you
I was
this,
like,
right?
yeah. Huh?
You get done with the board. They usually come by with an envelope and put it on your gate or whatever, right? Or you get it in the mail underneath your door, or whatever. You get that envelope, right? Is that how you find out you made the board?
Yeah, I had to. All right, so yeah, but you go pick it up. Yeah, so I went to pick it up. That's how I found I made the board. I went down to the county's council to pick it up, and I didn't open it right there. I walked out with it, took it all the way back to my cell, and because you're feeling it because they say if you get hit, it's a heavy because it got the appeal paper there. If it's not heavy, it's you mean, but I couldn't really tell. You know what I mean? Um, uh, but I opened it up. Actually, I was a teacher's aide, so I was working in and I was in the study hall. I came back to open it and I saw it, and you know, I just I just started crying, bro. I'll be honest, you right. I was
So now
yeah.
you open it up and it says you're going home, man. Are you worried about what you're going to do with your life, where you're going, job? I mean, what goes through your mind after 38 years in prison? What goes through your mind?
All right, so now once I got released, I'm released now. Now there's another obstacle for me. You know what I mean? Because I got a sex crime. My crime is listed as a sex crime. When I came to prison, they didn't have these sex offender laws. While I was in prison, they instituted these laws and they made it retroactive. So my situation put me in that category. So now I have now I got to go get level and everything. And in New York State, you're not, because of rules and regulations. A lot of individuals when they get released from the parole board that have what they consider sex crimes, they're in there a year, 2 years later, still waiting to find a place to stay because you can't be within a certain distance of school, et cetera, et cetera. And anybody going back to the city area, you're really damned. And just certain areas, unless you have somebody that has a house way out in the boondocks, you have individuals that are sitting in prison. While I was there before I went to the board, I know a number of individuals that was still there because they a year later they've been released. They waiting a year later because they can't find a place to put them. So that was so that became another worry for me. I got everything ready now. Am I going to be able to go home? Because I put in to get transferred to Virginia. You know what I mean? So I'm waiting for that for that approval to come through. And so I got released I went to board in August, got released in August, September. I went home. I went home January the next year. Got released 4 months later. You know what I mean?
You're married now, right?
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. Did you get married while you were in prison or after you got out?
I got married down here in Virginia. I met her at when I was working at Little Debbie's, my wife. Yeah, I met her at Little Debbie's. We got married last year.
So you met this lady after you get out of prison. What's it like
Yeah.
for you to explain to her that you did 38 years and what you were in prison for? Was that like, damn, man, I don't want to tell this lady this shit?
I mean, I had to. You know what I mean? Obviously, no, you didn't, but I had
I know
to.
you have to, but I mean,
Yeah.
how hard is it to bring that out?
It was hard. It was hard, but I mean, I just, I see. I'm me. Like as the years went on, like I believe in just being straightforward, being honest and truth. You know what I mean? Like whatever happens, happens. You just got to, be truthful and be straightforward about things. And she's a good woman. Actually, she likes to hike a lot, so we've been on hikes together, and we was deep in the woods when we sat down and talked about it. You know what I mean? So um,
Deep in the woods.
yeah.
Was she scared at first? Like, oh shit.
See, well, actually, no. All right. So the first time I told her,
Listen, hold up, man. I'm a dude, right? And if you were out in the
yeah,
woods telling me that out in the woods, I might have hauled ass, bro. I'm just keeping it real.
yeah. Well, no. All right. So let me go back first. When I first told her about it was before the hiking trip. I first told her about it. So, yeah, she was messed up about that. She even told me. So you know what I mean. But she just said she felt like just from meeting me and talking to me and being around me, she just felt I was a different person, and just from the things that happened in life that, I mean, it was terrible what happened, but just that things that I've been through in life, she just felt really bad about. I mean, she was just always in my corner for that. But I didn't go. But so I told her the details when we was out in the woods. You know what I mean? Like I told her about it before, just what I went to prison for, et cetera, et cetera. But as far as I went and told her everything, exactly what happened, was when we was out on a hike. You know what I mean?
You're
Um,
Christian?
yeah. I don't like to say Christian because I like to say I'm a child of God because like Christians, the name has been associated with so much and it's got so much bad press.
You guys
And
are believers in Christ. You guys go to church or no?
no, we don't go to church. We stop believers in Christ. So I don't. I have a different. Take a point of view about church. Um, you can have church right in your house. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no problem. So
So
let me ask you this, right? Now you're out of jail. How old are you?
I'm 58.
58 years old. How long you been out?
2 years, 2023.
What are you doing with your life now?
Well, I mean, I work. That's basically what I'm doing, working. But anyway, yeah, I got two jobs. I have my own business. It's still in the growing process. My business. I have a small business. I have a license for a small business. I do commercial and residential cleaning, landscaping, and recycling. Right now, I have a contract with a company to pick up all their recycling for them. So I do that, and I also work at a place called White's Travel Center in Rayford, New York. That's where I got to be to CP this morning. So I got two jobs. Actually, so I've actually lost a number of jobs since I've been home because of my situation. When I first came home, they had me on an ankle bracelet. So my first job, working at a plant, a woman saw it and she complained, so they fired me for that. And then another job I had, a girl, she went and told him about my situation and said that she was scared of me. I got fired there. I had a great job at Target. I was making $24.90 an hour, $37 in overtime. I lost that job for the same reason. Somebody looked me up and they went and told, because all right, when I was in Target, I got really cool with a lot of women there. They talked to me. It was real cool with me, flirt with me instead of saying I'm married to. But it wasn't nothing. Like I wasn't going having extras outside of sex outside of marriage or anything like that. It was just playing around, laughing, joking. But when this kid went and looked me up out of jealousy and found out about me, he went and told everybody. So all the women started panicking and they started complaining about me, and I got fired from that. That was a really good job that I had. I lost that job because of that, and I had, it was crazy because I had mad bills piled up. My wife was a little stressed out. And then I got a better. I mean, I got a better job, making less money, but it's a better job for me. You know what I mean? It's not as I'm physically on my body, etc. So I'm doing, I'm doing good, bro. Financially,
Ask
I
you,
got money in the bank. I got 2 vehicles. I got 2 trucks. I got chickens. We grow food, everything. You know what I mean? Like I said, I got a memoir that I started. I'm 4 chapters in that I just haven't had time to get back to yet. But I'm getting ready. Hopefully, by the end of this year, I can really get settled down and get back to writing that because I really want to get that out. And I want to buy me some property next year, some more land. So
let me ask
that's
you a question. Let me ask you. There's like two more questions I want to ask you before we get ready to go. Right.
right.
I know you said if you didn't make that parole board that you were getting ready to go all in again. What does that mean? Does it mean that you were like ready to just kill someone and let them kill you, or just what does it
Yeah,
mean?
I was, I was just so frustrated. So you know how, like in prison, like certain people take advantage of certain environments. So, uh, um, like what we'll say, like this guy, if he was somewhere else, he wouldn't be acting like that. You know what I mean? He's only doing that because he's in this prison and say that, and that's how it goes on in Woodburn a lot. A lot of dudes be doing stuff that in Woodburn that they wouldn't do nowhere else, or they've been in PC their whole bid, or they had math problems all different places up north, and they in Woodburn, and you go through that, a lot of disrespect, et cetera, et cetera. So I was holding a lot in Woodburn. You know what I mean? Trying not to, I was trying not to react to a lot of situations. It was getting more frustrating, especially you have to get ahead of the board. So, like I said, I was at the point where I was at the breaking point. If they don't let me go, I'm done. I'm just gonna wild out. You know what I mean? I was ready to go back. To be honest with you, or get on some real extreme violence. I'm like, I was at that point. You know,
Let me.
and
This is the last question I'm going to ask you. Right? You're home now. You're free. You did 38 years. This girl died. What's the girl's name? Because I mean, we don't even give her a name here. What's her name?
my name's Maria Acevedo. He's Portuguese.
So Maria Acevedo, she loses her life. Do you still live with remorse every day? Does it bother you? Do you dream about it? I mean, what goes through your mind? This is your opportunity.
Yeah, I carry a heavy burden, bro. I'm deeply sad. I'm yeah, full of deep sense of remorse for what happened. The worst of it is that like you can't, like if you break somebody's property, you can fix that. You know what I mean? Even if you hurt somebody and they're still alive, they can recover from that injury, and you can at least kind of like try to make amends with them. You know what I mean? Um, when you take somebody's life, bro, there's no fixing that. You know what I mean? I don't care. There's no amount of sorry. Like I have a big thing about sorry. Sorry is when you make a mistake. You know what I mean? You don't when you willfully do something. Sorry is like it's like inadequate. You know what I mean? To tell somebody I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry I killed. You know what I mean? That's like a smack in the face, bro. So like I'm just yeah. I just every day I'm just like torn apart about that because like I can't fix that, bro. You know what I mean? You can't do nothing about it. And then a lot of time I feel like I mean I appreciate I'm blessed. I thank God for where I'm at. But then it's like, where's the justice in that? You know what I mean? Because I got my life back. Even though I did all that time, I still had another opportunity. You know what I mean? There's a family out there that don't got that opportunity, bro. I don't even know if her mother's still alive. Her mother probably died after that. You know what I mean? And you know what I mean? That's you know what I mean. That daughter was pressure to her, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she cried so much on the stand, bro. I was like, it's crazy, man. Like, yeah, bro. It's just hard, man.
I mean, I can only imagine, right? You, one last question. You're getting out of prison. Were you ever worried about the family members? Did they come to the parole boards? Did they write letters where you're like, damn, these people might try to get at me once I get out?
No, they didn't do that. But I thought about that, to be honest with you. And my wife did too. My wife, she was a little worried about that. Um, her family was a little worried about that, you know. Um, and I think about that sometime too. I'm not gonna lie, because um I know uh one of the brothers that basically said that, you know what I mean, if I ever get out, he's gonna do this, do that. So there's always that um um in the back of my mind, you know what I mean? Especially like where I live at. So But I mean, like, I mean, I can't continue to live with that. It is, whatever happens is gonna happen. You know what I mean? And yeah, I just feel like, I don't think God brought me back out here for that. I think He brought me back out here for a purpose. Um, and I'm trying to fulfill that purpose.
Listen, I definitely appreciate you coming on because very seldom will we ever get a guy to come on that's been involved in something like this, right? So definitely appreciate you coming on. Anything you want to say before we get ready to go?
Um, I guess the main thing. I thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about my situation and kind of just say a few things. But I guess what I do, if there's anything that I do want to say, I think that people that's incarcerated, that's been in prison, has gotten a bad rap, and that people just assume things about them that and they don't want them back in society, et cetera, et cetera. But I think that we have to give these individuals opportunity to to get their life back, to be back a part of society. And I think that as a country that we're supposed to be Christian country, we're supposed to believe in redemption, but we don't walk it. You know what I mean? We continue to hold things against people um, that happened years ago. Not to say that we should overlook that, but you got to give people a chance. I mean, if you believe in Christ, you believe in repentance, you believe in forgiveness, then give these individuals opportunity. Let them back in society. Stop ostracizing them. You know what I mean? They're human beings just like you. Um, they made bad decisions. You know what I mean? Like Jesus said, who let him cast the first stone who hasn't done anything. You know what I mean? So that's just the things. That's just what I want to say.
Well, again, man, appreciate you coming on. I'm going to tell people if you like what we're doing, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Crazy story here, but a story that I feel needed to be told. And like I said, you don't really get a lot of interviews like this. So once again, man, I appreciate you coming on. Blood on the Razor Wire TV. Until tomorrow, we're out.